And this is normally what we would think that they're getting ready to swarm. It is empty. There's nothing in it. There's no larva, no royal jelly. So we're good. How often should you inspect your bees? Can you inspect your bees too often? And what about when you inspect them too much? I'm going to answer these questions and more. What's up, everybody? David Burns, EA, a certified master beekeeper. Let's jump right into the answers. I want to start first by saying there are really two types of inspections. One inspection has to do with you looking only for eggs. That means you're going to open up a hive and you just want to make sure your queen is laying eggs. Another type of inspection that I recommend you do is a thorough inspection. And that's when you not only look for eggs, but you also look for the larvae, the brood, the health of the brood. You look for pests and diseases. You check for resources such as honey, stored nectar, bee bread, and if they have enough space to grow, and if you can detect anything unusual, maybe swarm cells. First of all, how often should you inspect your hive? So let's just pretend this is in the middle of the summer, because we don't inspect our hives when it's cold outside. It needs to be 65 degrees Fahrenheit or more, 60 to 65. Otherwise, when you lift frames out, you can actually damage and kill developing pupae under the capped cells in the brood area. And let's pretend it's June the 6th, and today's January the 6th. On June the 6th, we're going to do an inspection. First inspection of the month, right? So we're going to go out there and we're going to open up the hive and inspect it. We're only looking for one thing. We're looking to see if our queen is laying an abundant amount of eggs. Now, we're not going to have to find the queen. We don't care if we see the queen. It doesn't matter to us, because if we see eggs sticking straight up in cells, then we know she was there today laying those eggs. No reason to spend all hours trying to find the queen and so we can see her. We can see her in that she laid those eggs. So as soon as we see an ample amount of eggs being laid on a frame, we simply close the hive up because we've verified the queen is in good health. Now, we're done for June the 6th. We're going to wait 2 weeks. So to answer the question, how often should you inspect your hive? I recommend every 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, we're going to do another inspection. It's been 2 weeks. This time, we're going to do our regular inspection of eggs, making sure our queen is laying good, but we're going to go further. We're going to look at how many eggs we see, how many frames of eggs. We're going to look at how many larvae we see, developing larvae. We're going to look at developing pupa, capped over brood. Is it a solid brood pattern? We're going to look for any swarm cells. We're going to look to see if there's stored nectar, and are they bringing in pollen and storing pollen, and are they storing honey? And then we're also going to look for any known pests or diseases. So every other 2-week inspections, we're going to do a thorough inspection to see how everything is going. We're going to be back to an inspection of just looking for eggs. Does that make sense? So we're going to do an inspection every 2 weeks. The first one looking for eggs. See eggs, close it up, don't need to see the queen. The next time we go in, 2 weeks later, we're going to do a more thorough inspection. The next 2 weeks, back to an easy, quick, is my queen laying eggs? That's how often you should inspect your hive. Let me answer the next question. Can we really inspect our hives too much? Absolutely. Now, you've probably heard me say it doesn't matter, you can't really inspect your hive too much, and that's true. I mean, you can open the hive up and look every hour, I guess, if you want to. But the question is, does it hurt the colony to do that? And what does hurt mean? I believe that typically if you know what you're doing and you're very gentle with bees and you're very exact, and you're limiting the time that you're in there, you can inspect your hive more frequently. But again, if you don't know what you're doing, you're a little clumsy, you're killing bees during your inspections because you're squeezing with big gloves on, you're squeezing and killing bees, you're dropping frames, you're leaving it open too long, not putting frames back in the right place, it can hurt bees. Now, In most cases, we would say you can't really hurt bees by inspecting them too often, but it depends on a lot of things. The intensity of the inspection, just exactly how many frames you are removing. So I'm going to say you really can't hurt bees, but the possibility exists that you can. And that is, let's face it, if you're inspecting your colony too often and you're a little bit clumsy, or not even if you're clumsy, but just an accident happens where you kill your queen, then you've hurt your colony. If you do your inspections every single day, it increases the chance that you're going to likely squeeze or kill your queen. So if you limit your inspections to every other week, every 2 weeks, then it's going to reduce the frequency of the possibility of killing your queen. So I'm going to say I kind of feel both ways. I know what I'm doing. I don't feel real awkward inspecting my hives, not every day, but more than twice a month sometimes. And I'm okay with that. Sometimes I get away with it by doing it more often if I'm raising queens or putting nooks together. You got to be in there more. It's just all it is to it. But for a hobbyist, let's stick with every 2 weeks. Before I get into the final question of how do you know if you're not inspecting your hive enough, let me please ask you to give me a thumbs up today. Let me know in the comments below that you're receiving value from the videos that I'm making. And please subscribe. I really love to see more subscribers. I appreciate it when you subscribe. Now let's get back to answering questions. And finally, the third question, when is it that you're not inspecting your hives enough? See, the reason, by the way, that we do an inspection every 2 weeks is because that gives us a pulse on the quality of how our queen is doing. So if our queen is failing, then we'll know it because every 2 weeks we're going to evaluate her laying pattern and the eggs that she's laying. If we go longer than 2 weeks, we lose our queen on the day we inspected her. Let's just make a scenario we lose her on June the 6th because when we were putting the hive back together, God forbid, we accidentally squeezed and killed her. So she was killed on June the 6th. Now the colony is going to have to either raise a new queen, or if they can't do that for some reason, then we're going to have to intervene. So if after June the 6th you wait 3 months to inspect your hive again, they could possibly go that whole time without a queen and they're dying out. That's why we need to inspect every 2 weeks. So I would say if you don't inspect your hive as often as every 2 weeks, by all means, do not go longer than 30 days. And that's only if you can't get in there every 2 weeks. Maybe you're not feeling well, got an illness, maybe you're traveling, you're out of town, you're on vacation. I understand, work gets in the way, time can't always be on your side. But whatever you can do, every 2 weeks. Some of you have been asking me about books that I recommend, and you've probably heard me recommend this book. I really enjoy this book a lot. I refer to it, I've studied it, I practically memorized it when I was studying for my EAS Master Beekeeper certification. It's by Dr. Clarence Collison, and it is What Do You Know? And it's a very excellent book. It was out of print, hard to get for a while. It's back in print now. I'll leave a link in the description below how you can obtain this book. But by all means, I really recommend this one because it's very thorough. It will probably be more than you thought anybody could ever say about bees, especially if you're a new beginner. It's going to tell you a lot of things about bees that I'm sure probably a good half of this book or maybe a quarter of this book will be new material for most of you that you've never thought about or heard before in beekeeping. So it's very thorough, very good. Okay, since we've been talking about inspections, I want to tell you that I've got a great video on inspecting your bees. This one goes back a little bit, but it's kind of fun watching me do an inspection. When I speak at conferences, a lot of people tell me that they have studied this video over and over again because it has helped them inspect their colony. Take a look at this video. Take a look at this one, and you'll learn more about inspecting your hive.